They called him the man who never slept. Detective Cole Bennett. 30 years on the force, 22 commendations, and a reputation that scared even the guilty into confessing. If there was a case no one could solve, Cole was the one they called. And he always delivered. Always. Until the night he didn't. Because this time, the killer he was chasing was himself. It started like any other crime scene. Cheap motel, bad lighting, and too much silence. Room 112 smelled of bleach and burnt coffee. The victim was a man in his late 30s, bruised, strangled, dumped in the bathtub. No wallet, no phone, no ID. Just a single Polaroid left on the nightstand. The photo showed two men shaking hands. One of them was Cole Bennett. That's when everything began to unravel. Cole stood there, trench coat soaked from the rain outside, the hum of flickering fluorescent lights crawling up his spine. He stared at that photo for a long time, not blinking. The young officer beside him, a rookie named Dana Shaw, noticed. "Sir, that you in the picture?" she asked. Cole didn't answer. He just told her to bag it for evidence and walked out into the rain. But deep down he knew that photo was real, and it shouldn't exist. Cole's reputation was built on results. He'd closed more homicide cases than anyone in his department's history. He'd outsmarted killers, exposed corruption, even put his own captain under investigation once. But lately, he hadn't been the same. He'd started forgetting small things, where he parked, what day it was, whether he'd already eaten dinner. He chalked it up to exhaustion. 30 years in homicide will do that to a man. But this was different. He'd wake up some mornings with mud on his shoes and scratches on his knuckles. He'd check his phone and see unsent drafts of messages that started with, "I didn't mean to," and every time, he deleted them before reading more. The motel victim's fingerprints came back 2 days later. Name, Aaron Pike. Small-time criminal, known for fraud and witness intimidation. But no connection to Cole Bennett, at least not on paper. The captain handed the case to Cole anyway. "Do what you do best," he said. And Cole did. He interviewed Pike's associates, searched his apartment, traced his bank records. Nothing stood out until he checked the man's burner phone. The last number dialed was Cole's. That night, Cole sat in his car outside the precinct long after everyone had gone home. Rain smeared the windshield, blurring the glow of streetlights into streaks of orange and blue. He lit a cigarette, hands trembling. He couldn't remember ever meeting Aaron Pike, but he knew one thing. The man had called him hours before dying, and that meant something only two people could know. Cole Bennett and whoever killed Aaron Pike. At 2 a.m., there was a knock at Cole's apartment door. He froze. Outside stood a teenage girl, maybe 16, soaked to the bone. "You're Detective Bennett, right?" she asked. Cole hesitated, then nodded. She reached into her jacket and handed him a small USB drive. "My dad said if anything happened to him, I should give this to you." He asked her name. "Lena Pike," she said softly. "Aaron Pike's daughter." Cole's stomach turned a lead. He asked where she'd been. She just said, "I've been hiding." And then she left without another word. Cole sat at his kitchen table, staring at the flash drive. It was small, black, and had one word written in white marker. Confession. He plugged it in. The screen flickered to life. A single video file appeared, timestamped 2 days before the murder. Aaron Pike looked straight into the camera. His face was pale, sweaty, terrified. He spoke fast, as if time was running out. "If you're watching this, I'm dead. And if I'm dead, it's because of Cole Bennett." Cole froze. He replayed the video, thinking he'd misheard, but the words were the same. Aaron went on. "He came to me a month ago, said he could make my record disappear, said he needed me to help with something first." Cole leaned forward. "What are you talking about?" he whispered under his breath. Aaron continued. "He gave me an address, told me to watch the building for 2 nights and report who went in and out. Said it was for an internal investigation. Then he paused and lowered his voice. But it wasn't an investigation. It was a setup. The video ended there. Cole just sat there shaking. He didn't remember any of this. But the fear in that man's eyes felt real. And so did the dread crawling up Cole's spine. The next morning, Cole called in sick, something he hadn't done in 20 years. He drove for hours, retracing his old cases, revisiting crime scenes he hadn't thought about in years. He kept hearing Aaron's voice in his head. It was a setup. Then something clicked. 3 years earlier, Cole had led an undercover operation into a human trafficking ring. It ended with 3 men dead and 1 missing, a suspect named Aaron Pike. Cole had written the final report himself, stating Pike had fled the state. But what if he didn't? What if Cole had made sure he didn't? That evening, Cole showed up unannounced at his old partner's house, Detective Raymond Rowe. They'd worked side by side for 15 years. Ray looked older, softer now. When he opened the door, his smile faded fast. "Jesus, Cole, you look like hell." Cole stepped inside. "You ever hear the name Aaron Pike?" Ray stiffened. "Yeah, you closed that 1 year ago." "What?" Cole's eyes locked on him. "Because he's dead, and someone's saying I killed him." Ray didn't answer right away. He just sighed, poured 2 glasses of whiskey, and said, "Maybe you don't want to know the truth." Cole slammed the glass down. "I need to know what happened." Ray's hand shook slightly as he set his drink aside. "You were working too many cases back then. You got sloppy. There were mistakes." Cole's voice went flat. "What kind of mistakes?" Ray hesitated, then said, "The kind that don't get written down." Ray led him to the basement, opened a locked cabinet, and pulled out a small box marked Internal Archive. Inside were old audio cassettes, interview logs, confessions, surveillance tapes. One was labeled Pike. Cole pressed play. The tape hissed, then a voice spoke. "Detective Bennett, please, I didn't know she was there." Then a gunshot, a scream, and silence. Cole's own voice followed. "Clean it up." He stopped the tape. His hands were trembling. That wasn't him, or at least he didn't remember it being him. But the voice was unmistakable. Ray looked pale. "You weren't supposed to hear that." Cole turned toward him slowly. "You set me up." Ray didn't deny it. "You were losing it, Cole. Drinking on the job, breaking protocol. You were going to take us all down with you. So yeah, I made sure it looked clean." Cole's jaw tightened. "And Pike." Ray's eyes dropped. "Collateral." Cole lunged forward, slamming him against the wall. "Collateral? You ruined my life." Ray choked out. "You did that yourself." Cole let him go. He was shaking, breathing hard, staring at his own hands like they didn't belong to him. Then he said quietly, "No, I'm going to make this right." 2 nights later, Cole turned himself in. He walked into the precinct at 3 a.m., handed over his badge, and said, "Play the Pike video, then play the tape." The room went silent. No one spoke as the recordings echoed through the briefing room. The plea, the gunshot, the words, "Clean it up." When it ended, Cole said only this, "I don't remember doing it, but if I did, I won't run from it." They booked him on 2nd-degree murder. 3 months later, while awaiting trial, Cole received a letter in his cell. No return address, no name, just one line written in blue ink. "You took the blame for the wrong crime." Again, inside the envelope was a Polaroid, just like the one found at the motel. It showed Raymond Rowe shaking hands with another man, Aaron Pike. The date on the back was 3 days after Cole's supposed confession. Internal Affairs reopened the case immediately, but before they could bring Ray in, his house caught fire. No survivors. The fire was ruled accidental, but the report listed something strange. The origin point was his basement, near a metal cabinet marked Internal Archive. The tapes, the evidence, the truth, all burned. And Cole Bennett? He was released 6 months later, cleared of all charges. But his badge was gone, his career over, his memory fractured. He moved to a small coastal town and lived quietly, never speaking to the press. 5 years later, a murder occurred in that same town. A man found in his home, shot once in the chest. On the table beside him was a cassette tape, label Confession. Detectives played it. It was Cole Bennett's voice. Only this time, he wasn't denying anything. "I've solved every case they ever gave me," he said, tone calm, almost relieved. "But some crimes you carry forever, and eventually they catch up. The case remains open. No one ever found Cole Bennett's body. Just his car, parked near the cliffs, keys still in the ignition. Locals still talk about him. The detective who spent his life chasing the truth, only to find it staring back at him in a mirror. And somewhere, deep in the cold archives of an evidence room, the Polaroid still sits in a sealed envelope. 2 men shaking hands, a deal frozen in time, and on the back, scrawled in faded pen, "You can't solve what you don't remember." This is Hidden Case Files, true crime, where every truth leaves a scar, and every detective eventually becomes the suspect. Subscribe for more real and haunting stories, because some cases don't end. They just wait for you to open them.